you have to breathe. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, our autonomic nervous system allows us to breathe for us. And the way we breathe gets developed on our life, how stressed we are, how much anxiety we have, how happy we are, on the opposite end of the spectrum. So the key is to slow our breaths down.
So we try to kind of
all these tests.
I retired, and obviously, but thankfully,
All right, we're in trouble when we have to talk about breathing. And when we have to remind ourselves to breathe, to intentionally do some breath work. And that's exactly why Brendon Hansford, founder of IMD Breathwork, is with me in the studio, because we're going to talk about everything breathing. We're going to talk about how to remind yourself to breathe properly. And Brendon, you're a creative director. You're a dancer. You're a breathwork master. What are you not?
I'm not lazy. How's that?
Okay. Well, that's a good thing not to be. So that's great.
So I'm a creative director, film director, dance choreographer, video editor, photo editor, sound editor, and then breathwork came into my life not that long ago, actually.
Amazing.
So that's me. I suppose I identify as my career because it becomes all encompassing.
That's fantastic.
Like I told you earlier, I have ADHD, so I get super hyper focused on the things I love. And I kind of embody everything.
I love it. I love it when we take certain circumstances in our lives and we use them to our benefit. So you use the ADHD to your benefit, because you can do wonders being a person with ADHD.
It's a funny story because I didn't know.
Okay.
It was about 12 years ago, and I was directing a documentary called Building a Dancer, which was about taking a dancer, branding them, and showing them how branding can help them build their career.
Okay.
And I had a meeting with a guy named Terry Hyde. He's a therapist in the UK, and he specializes in working with performers and dancers.
Okay.
And I wanted to interview him for the documentary. So we sat down and we were chatting away, and within 5 minutes he goes, "So how long have you had ADHD?" I went, "What?"
Sorry.
I was like, "What?" He goes, "You have it, right?" I was like, "No."
No.
So then obviously I went down a rabbit hole, looked into it, found out, went, "Oh yeah, I have it."
Oh yeah, that sounds.
And we did all the tests and stuff, and
oh my goodness.
my point system was 32, which is 2 points below medication.
Okay.
But I would never medicate.
Okay.
There's so many cool ways to deal with it, and there's so many benefits to having
Yes,
ADHD.
absolutely. Once
Always
you know.
interesting.
Yeah. It is interesting. To be honest, we did have a psychologist on the show, a therapist as well, and she works with kids with ADHD. And she's like, more often than not, they do not need medication. So I think you can work your way around it without opting for the medicine.
Well, I've never taken it, so I can't speak from experience. But my understanding is it kind of takes your emotions and suppresses them.
Yes.
Similar to antidepressants, right?
Yes.
And so being a creative, I don't want to lose my creativity.
Yeah.
So the idea of suppressing it down was
absolutely.
an absolute no-no for me.
I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad, because you're with us today. We want that energy.
Thank you.
Awesome. So, Brendon, to be honest, I'm going to start off with the fact that you worked with Sam Smith. I want you to tell us a bit more about that. You're a dancer, so it had to do with dancing, maybe? Okay.
Of course. Okay. So, God, how many years ago was that? It was on a music video he did, Dancing with a Stranger.
Okay.
And I was asked to come and be movement director, choreographer. And I suppose that's the short version. Mm-hmm. But it was awesome, of course. You get the cool, hey, you're going to be working on a music video with Sam Smith. You're like, okay. Sounds good. Yeah, let's do it. And we had these 6 androgynous models, and there were sections where they had to dance around him, and they kind of appeared and disappeared like these holograms.
Oh,
and obviously I had to help Sam dance as well. He's never really done any dancing up to that point, from what I understand. And so I was there more for him as a movement director, to help him move and help him dance. And he did. He got really good. His next music video was a big dance video.
Yeah,
so
I
I inspired him to go on and do more things.
That's amazing.
But I remember this one so clearly because there was this weird moment, and it's so surreal. We were in this mansion of a house in the middle of the countryside in England.
Okay.
And it was raining, of course. It was dark outside. And we were under this kind of canopy, tent, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. Both of us were drinking a cup of tea out of plastic cups, just chatting away outside like it was nothing. And I'm like, I'm having a regular conversation with Sam Smith.
That's amazing.
And of course, in my position, I can't be like, oh.
Yeah, I know.
So I was like, man, cool, yeah.
Yeah, you had to be chill. You had to be cool.
Man.
Yeah.
It's just every day for me.
Yeah, exactly. Having a cup of
wish.
tea with a celebrity. That's fine.
A massive celebrity.
Yeah, I know. That's fantastic. Okay, so we know about Sam Smith now.
Cool.
Tell us a bit more about yourself. So, about your career, about how you got to where you are.
Oh, to where I am now. Okay, how long have you got? Let me start.
We have all day.
Okay,
We're
perfect.
here.
So my career started as a dancer. I went
Okay.
to a place called Laban Centre, which is a ballet contemporary school in London. And I trained up as a ballet contemporary dancer first. And then from there, I shifted into more of the street dance styles. So locking, popping, house breaking, waving.
Nice.
Many other styles I probably didn't mention.
Okay.
And traveled America, traveled the UK, went around Europe, learning from as many different people as possible.
Mm-hmm.
This is the fast forward version. So then I was in that style. And then I opened a dance studio called Alter Ego Dance Studio in Hertfordshire.
Okay.
I literally found a plot of land that used to be owned by the Scouts, which
Okay.
is a thing in the UK.
Okay. Yeah.
And bought the land and converted the whole building into a dance studio. And then fast forward, got injured. So I was also working professionally as a dancer for about 10 years, running the studio, teaching, doing lots of different things. Got injured, went down the coaching path and decided I'm done with dance. It's over. I'm always injured. My body's had enough. And so I decided to train up as a life coach.
Okay.
About 2/3 into my coaching, I was being coached as well by the amazing coach that taught me. And then I realized I don't want to leave dance. I just don't want to be a dancer anymore. You know, I was done with it. So that's when I progressed into being a choreographer. And I'd always been a choreographer. I just kind of do it on the side. So then I'd say that's where my career really started.
Okay.
It like flew. That's when I got to work with Sam Smith, Rod Stewart, Rick Ashley, David Guetta, BB Rexa, a ton of brands in the UK. And,
Wow.
you know, as a choreographer, I was doing a lot.
Wow.
And I got to teach at Pineapple Dance Studios in the UK, which when you were back in the day, we're going back now. Back in the day, Pineapple was like the studio, right? And if you got to talk there, it was like, wow.
Okay.
And then I got to teach there for about 8 years, I think. And I taught at a place called Base. So yeah, my career as a choreographer just flew.
Okay.
And then, of course, fast forward COVID.
Of course.
Which messed everybody up.
Yes.
And I had so much work booked that year. And I remember because I was in Thailand and I was having a break because I was like, I've got so much on, I need a break. So I went to Thailand for 4 weeks. A week in, the government is saying, come home. So I had to get a flight home. And one by one, all the jobs got cancelled.
Oh.
And it was like, damn, I just spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then I had like nothing left. So I was in my flat on my own for the whole of the first COVID. I think it was about 5 or 6 months.
Yes.
And, you know, I just developed things, but nothing really that led to anything. And then finally it broke and then we went back into reality and then they put us back in another lockdown. It was like, And then come the third lockdown, I just decided I can't do this anymore. So
Okay.
I Googled what countries were open.
Awesome.
Guess what was open?
Hey.
Dubai. So Dubai was open. I knew one person here who was a choreographer as well. And I said, hey, dude, like, should I come? And he said, yeah, man, they'd love you here. Get on. And then 3 days later, I was on a flight because I tried to get out before they stopped the flight.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So I came 3 days later and I never looked back.
Amazing.
So I need to rewind a little bit to inform the story. Now, when I got here, there was no entertainment open. So dancing wasn't a thing, you know. So they still had everything closed in terms of entertainment and singing and stuff that I would normally work on.
Yeah.
Rewind, age 22, you know, I bought a camera for my birthday once. All my friends, girlfriend and everything pitched together to buy this camera. And I got into photography and got into video. And then obviously that led to getting into editing of photography, video and sound. And I've always done that behind the scenes, predominantly around dance. So I've always filmed dance, done photography and built little dance films and concept films and stuff like that.
Nice.
Bring that back to today. I got here and obviously I couldn't be a choreographer because there was nothing open that I could do. And I had my camera equipment. And before you know it, I'm working nonstop as a cinematographer, videographer, photographer here for the first year. And what they pay you here is a lot higher than what they pay you in the UK.
Okay. Well, that's a win.
So
okay.
I stayed,
Yeah.
you know, got my visa and got my flat and I never really left.
And you get sunlight as well, which
Oh my
I hear
God.
all the
I
time.
didn't realize how much having the sun out, even when it's too hot, just having the sun
Yeah.
really affects my mood.
Yes.
When I go back to the UK just for a week or two, I can feel it.
Yes.
It's like this dark cloud comes over you.
Yes.
It's so weird.
See?
And I never thought it was an issue in the UK. And I saw a post not that long ago that voted the UK like the second most depressing place in the world to live. And I sent it to all my friends going, it's not you.
It's not you.
It's not you.
Come to Dubai.
Come to Dubai, Habibi.
Yes, exactly. Come to this side.
And then I obviously got here and I go back about a year and a half. I was in a situation in my life, which I'm sure we'll talk more about.
Okay.
And went to Bali and found breathwork, found sound healing, and got a little bit obsessed, hyper-focused on it.
Yes.
And trained up as a facilitator, and obviously my background in sound editing kind of brought it all together, and now I run a company called IMD Breathwork, which officially incorporated 2 months ago. So we've only been going 2 months.
Oh, still a baby.
I started it in January as a side hustle, a little side project to help people because it benefited me so much that I thought, let's help as many people as possible. And then classes started selling out, and I had people requesting to teach this as well. And so over the summer, when I was traveling around Southeast Asia, I developed loads of new journeys, a plan, and now we're launching worldwide. I think we've now got 20. In the space of 2 months, we've signed up 20 people around the world that are going to be repeating my process.
Wow,
So,
that's fantastic.
And now I'm here trying to do all my careers at once.
That's amazing. And it sort of ties in everything together because I feel like breathing is at the core of life. And I mean, in order for you to live, you need to breathe.
Yes.
And I feel like as a dancer, breathing is crucial. Yeah. I mean, just like any other workout. I mean, you're always told, like in my Pilates classes at the gym, don't forget to breathe because we do forget to breathe. And we do forget the consistent breathing, which helps with, with our mood and with our overall well-being. So how important is it to breathe? I'm gonna ask you as the expert.
Very, very important. Obviously, hold your breath. How long can you hold your breath?
I think like 30 seconds.
Okay, now don't drink water or food. How long can you last?
Okay.
You get where I'm going?
Yeah.
You have to breathe. Now, obviously, our autonomic nervous system allows us to breathe for us. And the way we breathe gets developed on our life, how stressed we are, how much anxiety we have, how happy we are, on the opposite end of the spectrum. So the key is to slow our breaths down. So obviously, I've had funny people in the past go, you're a breath instructor. Does that mean I can teach too? Yeah. So we breathe every day without thinking. Everyone does, of course. Otherwise, we'd be dead, quite literally.
Absolutely, yes.
Now, where I come in is active breathing, to actually consciously focus on our breath, slow it down or speed it up, depending on what we want to achieve. Now, a good test is to basically mindfully see how many times you breathe a minute. 20 and above, you're in the area of sympathetic nervous system. It's a high stress response.
Okay.
I need to get very scientific to explain this. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
All right, so.
I love it.
When where do I start with this? Because there's so many different angles I can take. When you breathe fast, right? So let's say you're a stressed person, you're breathing really fast. Your body obviously creates CO2. It's a waste product of your tissues, your brain, everything in your body.
Yes.
And there's an oxygen-CO2 exchange. Now, if you're breathing fast, you're letting out a lot of CO2 very fast. And your body's not creating enough CO2 to replace the CO2. Okay. So unlike popular opinion, CO2 is not bad for you. In fact, having a high CO2 tolerance in the blood allows your hemoglobin protein to release oxygen. So when your CO2 is higher, not too high that it's toxic, high enough, the hemoglobin, which carries the oxygen around the body on the red blood cells, will let go of oxygen freely.
Okay.
So people have this misconception. I was actually talking to someone about this morning, so it's so weird this question came up.
Yeah.
That if you just breathe in more, you'll release more oxygen. Doesn't work like that.
Okay.
So, for example, in our sessions, we get people to breathe very rapidly. So, so they're letting out all the CO2 super fast.
Okay.
And what it does is it lowers the CO2 in the body, and the hemoglobin protein needs the CO2 to go, okay, it's okay to let go of oxygen.
Right.
It's like a little greedy little monster, It wants to hold on to the oxygen. But if it's getting enough CO2, like a fix, it lets go of the oxygen as much as it can.
Okay.
Right. So now go back to a fast breather. They've got low CO2. So even though they're breathing faster and taking in more oxygen, the hemoglobin protein is not releasing the oxygen to the body. So now what you need to do is slow your breath down.
Okay.
So this is where mindful practices come in. This is where breathwork comes in. This is where bringing everything down a step can help, because you slow your breaths down and you count it like over 5 seconds. So you've gone from 20-something breaths a minute to 5 or 6.
Wow.
Right? So then what happens is the CO2 can be released from all the muscles and the tissues, the waste product, and it builds up in the blood. So then hemoglobin goes, I've got loads of CO2, I have the oxygen. And it releases more oxygen to the muscles, to the brain, to the tissue. So you're oxygenating your body, which we all know is extremely healthy for you. It makes you think clearer. It makes your muscles heal faster. It improves your immune system, your cardiovascular health.
Yes.
The list is literally endless. So coming back to what you were saying, the importance of active breathing is huge.
Okay.
Just breathing without thinking depends on your state of mind and where you're at. And, you know, I can talk heavily into the trigger process of how we get there in life.
Yes, no, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, that's part of our conversation. How emotional trauma has also affected our breathing and the consequences of that as well. Right. So please, get into it.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready. I feel like I'm going to relate to that. I need a deep breath.
Take a nice deep breath. Big sigh of resonance. All right, so there's kind of a trigger storyline, should we say, and I'm just going to get it here because I'm refreshed. So let's say a trauma happens in your life.
Right.
And, you know, depending how old you are, if you're before the age of 7, anything can create a trauma.
Yes.
You're very much in a kind of theta brainwave state before the age of 7, and it fades out up to the age of 26 when your brain is fully formed. So before that age, you know, your mum or dad can drop a glass in the kitchen and you can make it about you, because at that age, everything is about you, whether you like or not. It's not a narcissistic thing. It's your whole world revolves around you because that's all you know.
Yes.
Yeah. So you make it about you, especially if it's a shock and it scares you. And then you decide, I don't like that. I don't feel good enough. Something scared me, whatever happened. And then you make a decision. I'm going to be like this, so this can never happen. So you're protecting yourself. Mm-hmm. So it's not a bad decision. You know, taking it to more extreme is a parent leaves. As a young child, you blame yourself. Maybe they left me. They didn't leave that person, the mum or the dad. They left me. Because that's what they did, and that's how you take it as a child. So you then create a trauma. I don't like that. So you decide to create mechanisms, even at a young age, to stop that from ever happening again.
Right.
So let's say the glass drops, right? And you decide that I'm going to go nowhere near this. And then you be like that for the next week. And you continue to be like that for the next month. 3 months later, you're still doing that. How long before that just becomes your personality? That becomes an inbuilt trigger for you, right? So fast forward. Trauma creates triggers. So then you get triggered by maybe a loud bang, right? So loud bangs scare the hell out of you now.
Yes.
So this is obviously making it very basic when we're talking about other things. That loud bang triggers you from the trauma from the past, which creates stress. Stress then, is it the hypothalamus, I think it is? I might be wrong there. Goes stress. Well, the amygdala goes stress, and then the hypothalamus kicks in and goes stress, and then sends a message to your adrenal gland, which goes cortisol. Have cortisol, right?
The stress hormone.
Yeah, which is not always bad. So cortisol gets a bad rep.
Yeah, it
does. But without it, we wouldn't think clearly. We wouldn't react fast. We wouldn't have all the quick triggers to deal with that stress.
Okay.
It's good for you. Like before this podcast, my cortisol was probably high because I was nervous. Like, don't say anything silly, you know. What am I going to say? What's she going to ask? You know, so that's getting me ready to deal with whatever situation it is. So cortisol's not always bad. But when you are stuck in that sense and cortisol's being released constantly, so when you're releasing cortisol, it suppresses your immune system. It affects your cardiovascular health. It releases more sugar into the blood. So it can help you put on weight, being stuck in cortisol.
Right.
There's loads of other things that do, but my brain went straight away, ADHD.
No, but those are more than enough. I mean, those are big ones.
But there's another really good one, and it's going to kill me until I think of it.
Okay.
But honestly, by having a constant release of cortisol, it's bad.
Yeah.
Because all these things are being affected. It takes everything away from your normal bodily function, like digestive system, for example. Right. And then your body can't digest stuff, and people get IBS, and they get physical symptoms based on stress. Okay, so one of the main things that the cause of too much high cortisol all the time, imbalance is good. But if it's being released all the time because you're constantly in stress and you're constantly dealing with stuff every day, then it leads to anxiety.
Right.
Yeah, and we all know where anxiety leads.
Yes.
And anxiety can lead to depression, irritation, and all the things that are not great for us. And that keeps you in that loop. And then suddenly, physically, your body's not operating is optimal and optimal performance. And we wonder why people who are depressed, have anxiety, and are constantly irritated get sick more.
Yes.
You know, like the first thing I said, their immune system becomes defective. So you can't fight off illnesses.
Right.
And then, you know, things go and sit in the body. So if you're constantly sitting in your sympathetic nervous system, I'm going to jump so much. So when you're in your sympathetic nervous system, if you think of it like it's not a toxin because it's not. Again, it's good for you when you need it.
Okay.
Gets you ready to run. It gets you ready to run away. You know, back in the day, there's a tiger. Run.
Right.
And it activates all the muscles in the body. But we don't get rid of it. So it gets stuck in the muscles and the tissues in different parts of the body. So if you think of the animal kingdom for a start, a lion chases a gazelle. Gazelle gets away, hides behind the corner, has a quick look. Oh, thank God they're gone, And it drops to the floor and it shakes. So it somatically shakes out all of that stuff that the sympathetic nervous system created. And it gets up. I'm good.
And then trots along.
Yeah. When was the last time you saw a human drop to the floor and
shake it off?
And then shake it off.
That's why they say shake it off.
Yeah.
Oh, makes
shake
sense.
it off. So you're somatically getting rid of it. The body, there's a great book called The Body Holds the Score.
Okay.
And it talks about how things get stuck in the body if you don't release the trauma. So what should happen is the trauma happens, have a massive cry, shake it out, go into a dance class.
Yes.
Go and do something that you can physically release it and move on.
Wow.
Obviously, depending how big the trauma is. If it's a big trauma, it can take a lot more than that. But that's the kind of what you need to do, the basic traumas.
Okay, yes.
If not, they build up. And then the cortisol is super high the whole time. And, your body functions stop to work and you end up in anxiety and you end up in depression.
Yes, absolutely.
And it all comes from the first trauma. So this is what people think. They go, I'm just stressed because my job is stressful. My wife, husband, parents, kids are stressful. This is why I'm stressed and this is why I'm anxious. No. You had a trigger from a trauma that caused you to be stressed by whatever those people are doing.
Right.
Yeah? Okay, let's say your husband, wife, they trigger you by saying X, right? That X comes from a trauma from the past because mummy or daddy or friends or family did something and now you have a trigger that you've probably forgotten about completely. Because that's what happens, right? It happens when you're 2 and then you forget about it. So then that gets triggered. That then stresses you out. That leads to your anxiety, depression, sympathetic nervous system, unhealthy life.
Wow. It makes sense, to be honest, because when it triggers you, like whenever something triggers you, at least if it's something from the past, a lot of people around you might think that you're blowing it out of proportion. No. And they'll always say, like, it's not a big deal, like, relax.
Yeah, to them.
Exactly. And it just makes so much sense because you've suppressed it all these years, as you said in the beginning, that it reached a point where it's an instant trigger and it leads to like the worst possible outcome from just
and this is the problem. People are dealing with the stress and anxiety in the moment. They're trying to deal with that, but they need to deal with the root cause.
Exactly.
If they don't get rid of the root cause, they're going to constantly be stuck in this loop.
Yes,
and this is where breathwork comes in.
And this is where it comes in. So tell us a bit more about that. Like, how do you help people get rid of those emotional
So let's
traumas?
talk about IMD Breathwork.
Okay.
So
please.
IMD Breathwork stands for Immersive Multidimensional Breathwork. So you're immersed because you wear an eye mask and you wear headphones. The eye mask obviously cuts out all the light and you can't see anything. The headphones cuts out all the sound.
Okay.
So you're on your own journey. You can be in a room of 20 people and you won't even know they're there.
Okay.
So we immerse people. Unlike a lot of breath classes I've gone to where I can hear and doing that, and you're like, and then someone starts crying and someone starts screaming, and you're like, oh, I can't focus. An ADHD boy here, can't focus. So for me, one thing you'll realize is everything I've created, I kind of created for myself.
And that's perfect, by the way.
And it seems to resonate with people, so I'm happy. So IMD Breathwork, and the immersive multidimensional is when you put the headphones on, the way I edit everything together in the sound journeys, there's like 20 different levels to it.
Okay.
And the basic is the music. The basic, I choose the music to take the journey on a storyline, like a narrative. Like that's my history, right? I've always been building stories, building narratives, being a creative, building shows. So I want to take people on this narrative and it all flows. So basically there's the sound, then there's the main coaching. So obviously I write all the scripts myself and I try and take... Do you know, when I write them for myself. This is the funny thing, in hope that it will resonate with everyone else.
What you want to hear, basically.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So there's the scripts and there's a ton of affirmations that are used as subliminal messages. There's a ton of tones that I won't tell you because it's like the secret sauce.
Okay.
And a ton of beats, again, that follow a certain frequency. And then underneath that, there's screams, which is always fun. There's breathing sound effects. There's different other sound effects that are done in different directions on purpose. So it's called binaural patterning. So when you edit it, it can appear from any different direction. So even though you're only wearing two headphones, one headset with two speakers, I can make it sound like it's appearing in front of you, behind you, to the side, down, up, in the whole spherical kind of surround your head. So
Wow.
The journey always follows kind of a similar path. You'll be breathing, you'll be holding your breath. We'll be telling you to scream. So you get to scream and cathartically let everything out. And we do that. We do like 2 rounds in the class. And then there's also a massive parasympathetic section at the end where we bring you back. And we do visualizations, we do breath holds, we do sighs. There's so much involved in it. So
that's incredible.
Coming back, if someone was to come to the session, one of the things that I'm proud of is, one, we're trying to make this trendy. We're trying to make this accessible to everybody. And from speaking to a lot of people that wouldn't normally come to something like this, because they do come to my class now, is they get a bit intimidated by your kind of normal holistic wellness healing where they think they're going to have to go and share their feelings. They think they're going to have to dance around. They think they're going to have to hold hands with someone. You know, there's so many things that I wouldn't mind doing. I don't care. I'm from the dance world. We touch and we talk all the time. But for the common Joe who looks at this and goes, that's embarrassing, man. I feel silly.
Yeah.
For us, you show up, you sit down, you listen. We talk about the science. We talk about what might happen to you physically and mentally. We tell you what to do. We teach you 4 breathing techniques that are going to help you in the journey and in life. And then you put your headphones on and everything is pre-recorded. So they just sit back, headphones on, follow the advice, breathe the whole way through, do the breath holds, do the screams, and then an hour and 10 minutes later, they come out. And then we give them another little speech on how to behave now. And then, yalla. Sorry, halas. They're done. And then they leave.
Incredible.
There's no sharing. There's no
vulnerability.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of people have issues with being vulnerable in front of others.
You just come, you do it, and you leave. And then we get amazing reviews. We've got like 117 5-star reviews now on Google since January.
Wow.
And they all say, my life has changed. I'm transformed. That was incredible. I was skeptical, but wow, mind blown.
Yes.
So yeah, everyone that's come, we haven't had a bad review yet.
Okay.
Touch wood.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even then, we say to people, if you do have a bad experience, come talk to us.
Yes.
Let's see if we can turn that into a good experience. So we're always there if people need to follow up. I've got a really good team now of people that are constantly there on the messages to help, and they're all fully certified breath instructors, so they know what they're talking about. And
that's incredible. So do you have your own space, or do you basically offer these classes in other studios?
In other studios. So yeah, we rent the spaces.
Okay.
One thing we didn't want to do is constrict ourselves to one space.
Yes,
because like I said, we're now going international. So we have instructors coming on all around the world. We've got a load in the UK coming on, Australia, a few around Southeast Asia, some in Europe now.
Okay.
We're talking to a few people in America. So it's grown so fast, and that wouldn't work if we isolated it.
Yes.
And the thing with isolating, I feel like it will cut us off a little bit.
Absolutely.
So we rent spaces, and we can take 15 people per class because we only have a certain amount of headphones each.
Yes.
And once it sells out, it sells out. But yeah, we try and do it everywhere. We want it to go all around the world.
And I think it's ideal because it just makes it more accessible for everyone. I mean, rather than just sticking to one location, you're across the city, across the country, across the world. So it's perfect.
And that's the plan. Yeah.
Okay, so can you tell us some of the feedback that you've received? Because just listening to it, it reminds me, I know it's not the same, but it reminds me of how good I feel after a sound bath healing class. Because I know I started doing it last year, and I try to consistently do one class a week. And I remember how I felt, because a lot of it also has to do with breathing. Like the instructor tells us to focus on our breath, to sort of let go of everything, and we sit in a cocoon, obviously, in the hammock. And so it's similar. I know it's not the same.
I'd love to talk about how the breath and what it actually does in the body. Like I've already spoken about the benefits of breathing and CO2 balance in the body, but what we do is a little bit different.
Okay.
So when you come to our session, we're actually activating your sympathetic nervous system.
Okay.
So when you breathe the way we tell you to breathe, which is fast and rapid, also known as super hyperventilation, you're off-gassing the CO2.
Okay.
Okay. So remember what I said about the hemoglobin protein, that when it's got a lot of CO2, it lets go of the oxygen. When it doesn't, it holds it back.
Right.
So we lower the CO2 tolerance in your body. So the hemoglobin holds the oxygen back. So what happens then is you go into something called vasoconstriction, which means there's a lack of oxygen being released around the body.
Okay.
Now, the main part is your brain goes into something called hypocapnia. So when it's getting a lack of oxygen, it diverts the oxygen away from your monkey brain, your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that tells you can't do stuff every day because you've pre-programmed it with all the triggers, right? And sends it all to the limbic system, which is your hippocampus and your amygdala. That's where your memories and emotions. Now, that's suddenly getting all the oxygen that you have left, right? So all of a sudden, all these memories and emotions can come up and play. without the prefrontal cortex stopping you, because that's normally what stops you. The logical brain goes, no, let's not go there. This hurts. Don't do this. It's protecting you.
Yeah.
But now we've made that a little bit quieter. So all these memories and emotions can come up and be processed. In the same time, your body's releasing serotonin and dopamine. So yes, that's breathing like that will put you into this state which will allow you to deal with these emotions. Like I've had memories from when I was 2 years old that linked to one of the deepest traumas of my life, and I didn't even know it existed. I had 20 years of talking therapy, and this never came up. It never resurfaced in my brain because I just didn't remember it. And and then suddenly I remembered it in breathwork, and then fast forward 1 week, and the trigger that was always a trigger for me just disappeared.
Yeah.
But one thing I learned is you need to do something every day to achieve stuff.
Yes.
And
Finding
now,
it. Yeah.
every day I do something to build what I want to do and what I want to do in the world.